London, January 24, 2026. The second day of proceedings in Prince Harry's lawsuit against the publisher of the Daily Mail pulled into daylight what many within royal circles had quietly suspected for years, but rarely voiced. Without caution, the emotional epicenter of Harry's private life, the force that continued to reverberate through his marriage, was not Meghan Markle, but Chelsea Davy, whose lingering presence, insiders say, destabilized the Sussex union and contributed to Meghan's need for constant reassurance during periods of acute mental strain. As the courtroom testimony unfolded, a parallel drama erupted behind palace walls. According to multiple correspondents briefed overnight, Prince William issued what aides described as an unequivocal and furious rejection of new insinuations emerging from Harry's legal campaign. Accusations that, for the first time, placed Princess Catherine directly in the line of fire. "Enough is enough," William reportedly told advisors during an early morning closed-door meeting. "My wife is not a prop in anyone's grievance campaign." His response followed renewed testimony in London that reopened dormant chapters of Harry's past, particularly the years he spent in a deeply embedded relationship with Chelsea Davy. Yet palace insiders say the true alarm was not legal exposure but narrative drift. Running alongside the litigation, they say, a story has been quietly forming, one that recasts Meghan Markle as the tragic heroine of a modern royal triangle. Catherine as a calculating beneficiary of institutional favor, and Chelsea as the unresolved love whose shadow never fully receded. At the heart of this framing is a belief Meghan is said to hold with growing conviction, that she was forced into a role once occupied by Princess Diana, trapped in a political marriage. Hunted by tabloids, undermined by rivals, eclipsed by a predecessor, and sacrificed by the very institution she married into. In this telling, Meghan becomes Diana reborn, Chelsea becomes the Camilla figure, and Catherine is portrayed as an architect rather than a bystander. A woman who secured royal destiny through proximity, timing, and strategic endurance. William's sources say was incandescent. "She crossed a line," one courtier remarked, "and Harry let it happen. The lawsuit became the spark." Harry has accused journalists of unlawful information gathering, including the use of private investigators, paid airline sources, impersonation, and illicit data procurement to track his movements and personal life during his relationship with Chelsea in the early 2000s. His legal team argues that the reporting poisoned his emotional stability, corroded trust, and created conditions that followed him into marriage. Harry has repeatedly framed his union with Meghan as collateral damage, telling associates after one hearing that his marriage was turned into a battleground before it had time to solidify. His barristers maintain that the intimacy of the published material could only have come from illegal intrusion. Associated Newspapers rejects that claim outright, insisting their reporting relied on lawful news gathering, cultivated sources, and industry-standard practices, arguing that confidentiality rules do not imply criminality. The contradiction has placed Harry at the center of the most volatile legal confrontation of his post-royal life. But inside palace corridors, the litigation itself is secondary. What alarms officials is the expanding fallout. According to people who have worked closely with the Sussexes over the past 3 years, Meghan has grown increasingly convinced that both the palace and the press implicitly favored Catherine while eroding her own standing. In private conversations, she is said to have framed Catherine's rise as calculated, highlighting her non-aristocratic background, her early relationship with William at St. Andrews, and her long-standing friendships within Harry's social circle. Meghan believed Catherine understood the system better than anyone, one former associate said, and played a longer game. Meghan, by contrast, allegedly drew repeated parallels between herself and Diana, invoking vulnerability, isolation, and emotional abandonment. In this version of events, Meghan is the wounded outsider embraced by the public but destroyed by institutions, while Chelsea is recast as a persistent presence whose intimacy with the family never fully faded. Palace officials quietly reject this framing. Before Meghan ever entered Harry's life, Chelsea Davy was already a familiar figure within royal circles. Born in Zimbabwe, educated in South Africa, later studying law at the University of Leeds, she moved comfortably between aristocratic and professional worlds. During her years with Harry, she attended polo matches, charity events, private receptions at Clarence House, and high-profile royal occasions, including William and Catherine's wedding. Former staff recall her being treated not as a visitor, but as someone considered for permanence. Charles, then Prince of Wales, is said to have hosted her privately and viewed her discretion favorably. William and Catherine regarded her as a close friend. She was family adjacent, one aide said. When the relationship ended, it did so quietly, without interviews, accusations, or memoirs. Months later, Meghan arrived, and within a compressed timeline Harry was engaged, married, and a father. Inside royal households, questions circulated quietly, not as criticism but concern. Was the pace too fast? Had there been enough preparation? Those questions, insiders insist, were never intended for public consumption. William's response hardened as Harry's framing widened. According to aides, he was unmoved by suggestions that Catherine benefited from covert press arrangements. He called the idea insulting, reminding advisers that Catherine endured years of harassment before marriage, invasive scrutiny during university, and relentless attention as a young royal. She did not bargain for coverage, he reportedly said. She survived it. He expressed pride in her background, emphasizing effort over entitlement, and made one instruction unmistakably clear. There would be no silence, no soft response. And Catherine would not be left undefended. What legal or institutional steps may follow remains unclear, but within the palace the shift is understood. This is no longer merely a press lawsuit. It is a family war. By midday, senior aides were no longer discussing courtroom tactics but optics. What unsettled officials was not Harry's legal action, but the storyline expanding around it. One Meghan is said to have encouraged for months, casting herself as the monarchy's latest tragic woman, echoing Diana's fate. In private briefings, Meghan has framed her marriage as a political arrangement gone wrong, undone by hostile tabloids, silent courtiers, and unresolved attachments from Harry's past. She speaks of Diana often, one former staffer said, of adoration and destruction. In this narrative, Catherine becomes the foil, the polished insider who mastered royal survival, while Meghan is the outsider marked for removal. William's allies reject any equivalence. Diana lived in a different constitutional era, one official said. Meghan arrived with lawyers, agents, and control over her image. Still, the comparison resonates online, fueled by excerpts from Harry's filings describing Meghan's anxiety and fragility under media pressure. To palace advisors, the language is alarming. He isn't just suing newspapers, one said. He's litigating family history. Tensions escalated when supporters suggested Catherine benefited from discreet press relationships, allegations William categorically denies and considers defamatory. Legal teams reviewed exposure. Editors pushed back publicly, citing Catherine's decades-long refusal to brief privately. William authorized the compilation of a dossier documenting Catherine's early harassment and restraint. Charles was briefed repeatedly, viewing the escalation as dangerous. Anne was blunter. By nightfall, it was clear Harry's legal crusade had crossed into dynastic territory. Kensington Palace hardened its posture. Late-night briefings were convened. The agenda was stark: escalation containment. William's position was unambiguous. Catherine's name would be removed from future legal framing, or formal responses would follow. He authorized background briefings emphasizing her record of discretion and refusal of commercial opportunities. What angered him most was the revival of attacks on her family's background. He called it insulting, praising the Middleton household's stability and discipline. She arrived without entitlement, he reportedly said. She learned the job from scratch. The shift was unmistakable. The lawsuit may target a newspaper group, but the battle over truth, motive, and memory is now being fought inside the monarchy itself, and it has only just begun.